Everybody Loves Raymond made millions of families laugh for 9 straight seasons. But while the cameras rolled and the audience cheered, something very different was happening behind the scenes. Hidden tensions, secret struggles, and a side of the show that nobody talked about. So what was really going on when the lights went down? By 2003, Ray Romano was taking home $1.8 million per episode. His co-star Brad Garrett, just $160,000. That enormous gap quietly built into something nobody could ignore. Garrett eventually walked off the set in protest, and several cast members stood with him. The move worked. Salaries went up, the cast came back, and the show kept rolling. But things were never quite the same behind the scenes. The show also made some surprising changes that most fans never noticed. The Baroni children were originally named after Ray Romano's real kids, Alexandra, Gregory, and Matthew. But Romano started feeling like the line between his real life and the show was getting too blurry. The boys were quietly renamed Michael and Jeffrey. Ali stayed. And when the original twin actors were replaced by the Sweeten brothers, real-life siblings of the girl playing Ali, the family suddenly clicked in a way that felt completely natural on screen. But here's something even fewer people knew about. Brad Garrett, the towering, lovable Robert Barone, was secretly fighting alcoholism during the early seasons. He later admitted he sometimes performed while under the influence. He stopped drinking before the end of season 1, but for a while nobody watching at home had any idea. The comedy was real. The struggle beneath it was just as real. Even the show's title almost didn't happen. The phrase "Everybody Loves Raymond" started as a sarcastic joke from Ray's real brother, a New York City cop who once grumbled that while people shot at him at work, his brother just got applause. CBS used the phrase as a placeholder title, and then somehow it stuck. Romano worried it sounded arrogant. The critics made sure it didn't. Then there's Patricia Heaton. While millions of viewers watched her play the sharp, warm, endlessly relatable Deborah Barone, they had absolutely no idea what she was going through off-screen. And what she kept hidden might surprise you. During filming, Heaton became pregnant. Twice. She was already raising 3 children. Yet somehow almost nobody watching ever noticed. The crew dressed her in loose jackets and baggy clothes. Props were strategically placed. Laundry baskets, kitchen counters, oversized bags. Camera angles were planned with almost military precision. The entire production quietly reorganized itself around her, and it worked perfectly. Not because it was easy, but because everyone involved was genuinely that good at their jobs. Years later, a former assistant filed a legal claim over unpaid overtime wages. It was a relatively minor dispute, but it made headlines simply because of who Heaton was. It was a reminder that fame doesn't put anyone above the ordinary rules of work and responsibility. Even television's most beloved mom had to answer for the same things as everyone else. Off-camera, Heaton shared a close friendship with Peter Boyle, who played the grumpy, lovable Frank Barone. The two had very different political beliefs, Heaton openly conservative, Boyle more liberal, yet they remained deeply close. When Boyle passed away in 2006, Heaton spoke at his funeral and later described how kind and supportive he had been during one of the hardest times of her life, including her own battle to maintain sobriety. Their friendship wasn't built on agreement. It was built on something deeper than that. A huge part of what made the show feel so real was where the stories actually came from. Writer Phil Rosenthal once admitted that a simple argument with his wife over a can opener turned into an entire episode. Ray Romano's real brother Richard, a working police officer, became the template for Robert Barone, and sometimes paid the price for it. His fellow officers would tease him whenever an episode lifted something directly from his real life. And it happened more than once, but how did Peter Boyle even end up on the show? The answer is stranger than you might think. Boyle came to his audition already having a terrible day. Security gave him trouble. Parking was a disaster. He walked into the wrong building. By the time he finally sat down with Romano and Rosenthal, he was exhausted and visibly irritated. And that bad mood, that genuine, unfiltered frustration, turned out to be the best audition in the room. Romano and Rosenthal looked at each other and knew immediately. Frank Barone had just walked through the door. What happened next, though, was something nobody expected. In 2002, While still playing the loud, grumpy heart of the Barone family, Peter Boyle was quietly diagnosed with cancer. He told almost nobody. On the advice of his co-star Doris Roberts, he decided to keep working and keep things normal. Roberts told him simply that he didn't need people treating him like a sick man. He needed to keep doing what he loved. And so he did, performing with the same sharp timing and warmth, carrying the weight of his illness completely alone. While audiences laughed and never suspected a thing, he continued until the show ended in 2005. 1 year later, he was gone. Peter Boyle passed away at 71 from complications related to multiple myeloma and heart disease. His legacy, though, has never faded. After the show ended, plans were seriously in motion to give Brad Garrett's character his own spin-off. Robert Barone would move to Philadelphia, start fresh as a gym teacher, and build a life away from his overbearing family. CBS reportedly showed real interest, but creative disagreements eventually ended the project before a single scene was filmed, leaving fans to wonder what that show might have become. Meanwhile, Doris Roberts, the woman who played Marie Barone with such unforgettable warmth and chaos, built a career that spanned 6 decades. 5 Emmy Awards, a Screen Actors Guild Award. When she passed away in 2016 at the age of 90, it felt like the end of something that can't quite be replaced. Her Marie Barone remains one of the defining performances in sitcom history. Patricia Heaton walked away from the show with 2 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Lead Actress, and then kept going, spending 9 more years on The Middle, later starring in Carol's second act, and building a life far beyond the Barone kitchen and Ray Romano. Before any of this happened, he spent over a decade doing small comedy clubs and delivering furniture just to pay his bills. His break came from a single appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. Letterman saw something in him and helped develop what would become one of the longest-running, most-watched family sitcoms in television history. 9 seasons, 15 Emmy Awards, and a permanent place on lists of the greatest shows ever made. The house used for the Baronets sat at 135 Margaret Boulevard in Merrick, New York. Right across the street, at number 136, was Frank and Marie's house. That uncomfortable closeness between the two families wasn't just a story choice. It was built right into the geography of the set. Every week followed the same rhythm: read-throughs on Monday, rewrites on Tuesday, executive reviews on Wednesday, cameras on Thursday, live audience on Friday. The writing was precise, the production disciplined, the scripts locked in well before cameras rolled. Brad Garrett later said it felt nothing like the loose, improvised energy of Seinfeld. It was something else entirely, a show that knew exactly what it was, and never stopped believing in it. When the final day of filming came in 2005, Patricia Heaton broke down completely during the last rehearsal. She cried so hard she lost her voice. Production had to stop. After 9 years of building something together, of hiding pregnancies and navigating friendships across political lines, of watching colleagues carry secret illnesses and push through it anyway, the emotion finally had nowhere left to go. That moment, maybe more than anything else, says everything about what Everybody Loves Raymond really was. Not just a television show, something that actually meant something to the people who made it.